Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today I'm going to be talking to John Lincoln. He is one of the top digital marketers on the planet, and he has clients like Office Depot, Morgan Stanley, and Tony Robbins. He's also been involved in millions of dollars of online marketing campaigns, and we're going to be talking about all the things that you can be doing to grow your business right now. Since we're in a post-COVID-19 world, we're going to be jumping into his 6-step COVID-19 marketing response plan, and we're going to be covering 20 plus marketing ideas that you can use right now in today's market to grow your business. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. If you like what you see, smash that like button, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you on the inside. Let's get started. We are live in the Real Closers Facebook group with John Lincoln. He is the CEO and founder of Ignite Visibility, one of the top digital marketers in the country, and author of 2 amazing books on digital marketing. John, really appreciate you coming on and talking to us today about the COVID-19 marketing plan and how we can all continue to market our business during this turbulent time, and also do it in a way that's tasteful and effective so that you're getting the most juice out of every squeeze.
Yep.
So I wanted to just kind of start with a video that you did recently that I saw that was really great, and it was around the COVID-19 marketing response. So did you want to just kind of give us a 30,000 foot view overview on that, and then we can kind of dissect it a little deeper?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first, happy to be here. Big fan of Big Block. Super cool company. Congrats on that. And hi to everybody in the group. It's awesome to be here. And I like these closed Facebook groups. I think they're really great in a lot of different ways. So, just kind of thinking, we're looking at this from the individual realtor perspective. And, in some ways that might be a little bit different than what a big business would do. I'm not sure if you saw some of the stuff that Samuel Adams had done. I thought that was kind of interesting, where they had basically created this way so that, all their restaurants, basically could, they were basically create a fund for all their restaurants and supported all their restaurants. They use that within their marketing plan. That's been great. But I think, the biggest thing and the biggest pain point there is, you've got to create a customer communication strategy. So what's going to be that main way that you're going to communicate with the customer? And part of that is thinking about how are you going to be helping with this threat, right? How are you going to help people? And then in addition to that, what steps are you going to take so that it's going to be, as sanitary as possible, right? That's what everybody's worried about. So one of the main things we've told people to do is survey their customers and then try to figure out what they're worried about, how have things changed, what's the change in the product market fit, what do they want to see from you now that's going to make them more comfortable so that they're going to want to do business with you in the future, and just basically just going down through that checklist. So I find that that's a really important thing to do. So sanitary measures are going to be big. And then what I think a lot of people don't realize is you can do just pretty much everything virtually nowadays. I mean, you really can, and especially in the real estate space. Anything you can do just to, show your potential buyers the actual home, to go live as much as possible, that type of thing is going to be big. But I think, what we're seeing the bigger brands do is create entirely new customer communication, digital advertising strategies, refresh all of their creative, literally every single piece of creative, from their Facebook ads to their YouTube ads to their Google ads to their, display ads to, you name it, and then come out to the market with an entirely new strategy about how they're helping their customer, how they're being sanitary and stuff like that, and how they're dealing with it, how they've changed their product market fit. And I think what they're going to be doing is using the results of that in their next advertising campaign, now that people are starting to, kind of open up, which I'm so excited about. So those are a couple things. And if you've got a website, I find it's really important to actually put a page on that site and to say exactly how you're dealing with it, exactly, how things have changed, any type of, documents or cool assets that you have are good too. So there's just a couple things, but there's quite a bit to it.
Yeah, no, those are some great tips. And I think a couple of the big ones that I really like that you mentioned. Number one, I think communication is uber important right now. I do want to go a little deeper on that because I think a lot of people are maybe a little bit fearful or not sure how they should approach that communication. So we can go into that a little bit. But I also like what you said about having a special dedicated page on your website. I saw that on your page and I thought that was pretty cool. And it just kind of talks about what you're doing, how you're handling the situation, that you're still open, this, that, and the other. So I thought that was really great. And then I like the idea of the digital refresh for a lot of different reasons. I think that if you're running ads, I think they need to just have a different tone right now, a little bit different messaging. And so I'd love to dissect that a little bit as well with you. But why don't we start with communication? Because I agree that I think that communication right now is definitely critical, not only with your clients, your sphere, but your neighbors, your vendors, your teammates, employees, all of that. So why don't you speak on just a little bit communication and how we can be effective right now with that?
Yeah, I think you got to list, thank you. I think you got to get a list of everything that they're worried about, right? Everything that they're worried about, and literally come up with your top 20 things that your customers, your employees, your strategic business partners, and just create that list to start. And then once you do, create what's your response to it, right? What's your risk reversal, essentially? It's a great term by Jay Abraham. What's your risk reversal on each one of those things so that they don't need to worry about it. And if you can do that proactively, I think that's really the first step, because then you've got that there. And then what I've seen is that ends up translating into your marketing messaging, right? That's the same type of thing that you're going to want to get out there, in all of your ads. And then, kind of taking it a step further, what I've been coaching people on doing is kind of creating a one sheet. So thinking of everything that you do for your entire business, right? So we're a digital marketing agency. We offer all these different services. You're in real estate, and for these people who are in real estate, what are all the things you do that you ever do to interact with a customer? And then going down that list and trying to eliminate as much as you can to make as much of it virtual as possible. We recently did this with our client who is a dentist, and he's got 20 or 30 different locations, just an amazing guy. And we're able to cut down on the in-person interaction with the dental practice by about 90%, and even create 100% virtual dental visit, which I actually love, because I don't like going to the dentist that much. I'd rather go virtual all the time if you can.
I was going to say, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's still a ton of value there though, and I think there's just so much that can be done, but you've got to be deliberate about it and not afraid to put these new types of products and new type of messaging out there. It's being really well received by everybody who I've seen do it.
So I love what you said there about breaking down. What did you say? Their objections or their fears or what they were thinking?
100%
on a list. And then tailoring your message, and how are you tailoring that message? And what's the tone? Because I'm sure that we don't want to be salesy right now, but we want to be following up and want to be top of mind. So what's the fine line there?
Yeah, I think we've seen a little bit of a shift, honestly, lately. And I've been speaking on this stuff since it kind of came out. I mean, at first, I think it was sympathy. Everybody wanted sympathy. And I think there were so many ads that came out around that. I mean, every single major corporation came out with an ad on, we're here for you, we're helping you, great jobs, first responders. That stuff is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I think that's the coolest thing ever. And I'm so happy that corporate America and these bigger companies went out and did that. But what people want now, I think I've seen in the last 2 weeks, I think I've seen quite a bit of a shift. And what they want now is they want action. They want something that's going to help them, get kind of some semblance to, what they had prior, right? So, for us and for you, I mean, I would just think, hey, if somebody wants to buy a house, there's nothing holding you back. We've got all the answers. We can help you, have that exact same type of experience, do everything virtually, even cut down on the time that you would have to, all the back and forth and the driving. We're so smart. We're ahead of that curve, right? And now the last thing you need to do we cut down on all this vetting process for you. This is actually in your ad. And now all you need to do is just pop in on these final ones, and it's actually saving you time and stuff like that. So I just always try to put myself in the customer's mind. Like, I own 2 houses, right? And looking for houses is a pain, and anything that you could do to, you go there, you do the virtual experience, you walk them through that, and I would love to just, I would take that, I would chop that up into an ad. I would show that experience, some customer testimonials, and I could just see people being like, wow, this is the type of person I would want to work with because they're on the cutting edge, So, that's what we're trying to coach our clients for. And we're not trying to scare anybody into using any type of services. Even if we have like a medical service, we're not trying to like scare them. We're trying to provide value. People, they want positive stuff right now. We saw that YouTube traffic is up 15%, which is a huge, huge amount. Like YouTube just spiked. And the main thing that people were looking for on YouTube is they're looking for positive, they're looking for motivational things. And they're not on there to try to find more stuff to bring them down, obviously, so.
Yeah. I think we could all use a little less negative news.
Yeah, me too. I was like refreshing coronavirus like 20 times a day and, just Googling it. It's not a good way to spend your time.
Yeah. Not helpful for a positive mindset anyway.
Nope.
Well, I really like what you said there about documenting the journey, about how you could be ahead of the curve, what you're doing to help, how you're using this time of social distancing paired with technology to make the real estate experience more frictionless, easier on the person buying or selling because of all the digital stuff, saving time. So I think that'd be a great message.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things that we've seen is there's a huge amount of media out there right now. So if anybody's interested in getting press, it's a great time to do that. Are you familiar with Help a Reporter Out before? Have you ever used Help a Reporter Out by any chance?
Yeah, we've been on there a few times, but I'd love to hear more, and I'd love to hear if it's working now.
Yeah, I just want to give you guys a couple tips, everybody in the group. I thought you might find this interesting, but Help a Reporter Out, you get about 200 media inquiries 3 times a day. And it's just such an easy way to get national press. And they want to hear about every type of industry. And even if you just want to respond on general business stuff. So even myself, I'll just pop on there, answer a quick question. And a lot of it's around coronavirus stuff right now, which is why I thought of it. But it's just a really, really easy way to respond and get national, coverage. And I just think it could be so powerful for you guys. I think, as real estate agents, key differentiators or expertise and what sets you apart from the next person and all that. And it's so nice to be able to throw Forbes up on your website. So I'd highly recommend Help Your Reporter Out. That's really good. And then also,
and just so I'm clear on that process. So, because I've heard of it before and we've dabbled, but basically it's a site where reporters, they just throw out questions to local experts, and then you're able to field those questions. And if they like your responses, then there's a good chance you could get featured in stories. Is that kind of the gist?
Nailed it. Yeah, it's exactly what. So I was a journalist for 4.5 years, and this is way back before I started Ignite 7 years ago. But basically what it is, I can put out a query and I can say, I want to know what real estate people think, or doctors think, or digital marketing experts think about the coronavirus and how to scale out of it. And I would do that, and hundreds and hundreds of other people do that. And that goes out to everybody who's signed up for the list, right? And there's a free version and then a paid version. But the free version's great. And then you get the opportunity to respond. And if you respond real quick, you get picked up. And it's really fun and it's easy. And, it's nice to, you put in a response. Not everyone gets picked up. But like 2 weeks later, you'll be on a Forbes or a Huffington Post or one of these big sites, and it's just it's invaluable press. So
that's
worth checking out.
And what would you say in terms of like how many you are responding to that get picked up? Like, what would be a target ratio for someone?
So I probably get picked up personally on like 80% of what I respond to, but it's
Wow.
because I'm really good at it though. And I've
So
been
that's
doing it for
great.
a long
Yeah.
time. So let me give you guys my secret if you actually want to go and try to do this. So here's what
Here
you
we
do.
go.
So
Here we go. Write this down. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. If you have any questions, put them down below, but this is going to be good.
yeah, so what you do is like the queries will come in and you just skim them really quick. You find one that's from a good size publication that you care about. And then what you do is you just copy the email and to write back and you just write in the headline, I have the perfect quote for you. Okay. Because that's what the journalist wants, right? They want the perfect quote just to drop right in their article. And then you look at exactly what their
That's
query
good.
was. And then you just write a response that's like, maybe 4 or 5 sentences and, detailed. It's got to be an expert response. And then right underneath it, you just put your bio, like 3 or 4 lines, because that's and then you just send it off. And
That's
if it's at
really
the
good.
top of the list and it's the exact quote, that's exactly what the journalist wants. They'll just snag it. They'll throw it in the article. 2 weeks later, you're on like Forbes or something like that. And you just get to tell all your friends and you're feeling great about it. And then after you do it for a while, you don't care anymore. So
Yeah. No, I mean that's honestly amazing, and I love how you pre-frame the quote with "I have the perfect quote for you."
yeah.
That's like a brilliant way to start.
Yeah, it works really well. I hope you guys get some press from it. It's a great site. And I mean, one of the busy, I'm so busy, you're busy, everybody's busy, but I mean, it's like you do it 2 or 3 times a week and it turns into, what a PR company you'd be paying them like, PR companies, they might get you, 1 to 5 pickups a month, right? And you can kind of get it on your own for, $99 a month if you want the premium version. So
Wow. Great tip on getting press. I love that. And I will definitely try that, and I will report back on if we get picked up. So I'll give you
yeah,
a
do
shout
it.
out on that one if it works for us.
Cool.
So next I want to talk about the digital refresh. So
Yeah.
that's a strategy that you've talked about in the past, and I think now is a perfect time for people while we're at home, we have more time, we're not commuting, etc., to do the digital refresh. So what does that look like for someone in real estate, or how would you coach someone on that?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. So Papa John's, they came out with this whole new thing where they put the pizza down and then they walk back 6 feet, right? And then that's their social distancing. And that kind of alleviates whatever, the main pain point is of the customer. DoorDash came out with the same thing. They're one of our clients, and they've got all the social distancing. They leave it at the door or whatever, then they go back. But really what the digital refresh is the first thing is you pick your new customer communication strategy. What do you want them to know? What do you want to get in front of them? And then after that, you're basically creating all new ads. So you're creating, and we talked about an example ad earlier, right? We talked about what one could look like, which, I mean, I just think if it were me, like, and I were doing real estate, which I'm not, and I don't have a license or anything. The only big real estate, one of the bigger ones that I worked with actually was Realty Track. I think they got bought by Zillow or something like that at one point. But I would just think like, what do they want to see? So you showing houses, customer testimonials, chopping that all up into a really nice video, showing you as an expert. Maybe you have one of your HARO Forb things kind of fly in, so they know that you're, you got some credibility and some awards and stuff like that. But what that means is you set up 2 audiences. So one, probably 3 actually. One would be your prospecting audience. So that's getting in front of all new people that have never seen you before. And that's going to be ads that you run through Facebook, through YouTube. YouTube is so inexpensive right now. It's ridiculous. You could saturate, your entire market for $1,000 a month, probably around,
Wow.
within 20, 30 miles around you. Every single person would see you, 5 to 10 times. It's really, really cheap. And then, I would do Facebook, I would do Instagram, I would do YouTube, I would do Google Display. I would set up audiences there for prospecting just 30 miles around your radius and around the radius of any houses that you're trying to sell. And then I'd also set up really heavy remarketing audiences. So if anybody comes in to your site, you really want to remarket to them for like 120 days. And I don't think you want to just remarket to them with that one ad I talked about. Probably what I would do is set up new remarketing ads and build up that audiences with new houses that you're trying to sell. So if you've got like, this one property, you remarket to them with that, the next week, another one, the next week, another one, and you can just build up your inventory of all the houses that you're trying to sell and hit them through remarketing through all those different sites. And then they're going to know everything that's in your listing. And then I think the final one I would do is a past customer audience, maybe. So somebody who's bought from you before, and then an email list audience as well. But if you can set up all those different audiences and develop what we call a cost per acquisition strategy, so how much it costs to get somebody to come back and inquiry, then you're going to have basically these 4 buckets or so, and then different networks that are feeding into each one of those audiences on the different networks. And you'll be able to kind of just build this whole online business model, and then you might be able to scale it, right? And that, for me, that's what I'm all about. Is like, you build something, you see the numbers, you scale. So I think that's the direction that would be really, really cool. It's just it all comes down to the ads and that one great awareness ad, so they know who you are, and then nurturing them further down and further down and further down. And I don't really see a lot of people do that on the real estate level. At least the people I'm working with haven't been. So it might be a good opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very true. I think it's very underutilized. I think that people like dabble with ads and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I love the real estate marketing strategy that you just broke down with the 4 buckets. Let me just run through those 4 buckets again. 1 was cold traffic, so that's just awareness. 2 was that current customers, or is that retargeting?
Retargeting was 2, yeah.
So 2 is retargeting, and then past client audience of anyone that you've ever worked with in the past. And then a 4th was an email list audience. So I'm assuming your entire CRM full of real estate leads, just pulling in their name and phone number.
I think that's what, yeah. And so for us, like, I actually have all those audiences set up for Ignite. So they kind of came to mind, and I like to do that framework with a lot of people. But for example, we just did like an industry study, and the industry study, one was on SEO and intent, and the other one was what 300 digital marketers are, doing for their strategies or whatever. So when people come in and download those, that puts them into, we call that a micro conversion because it's not a full request. So, but it does show some intent. So I like to build the email lists a lot. And I know you guys are great marketers as well, Oliver. I'm super familiar with that. So maybe I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but for the people here, building micro conversions and nurturing them is really, really important. And so anybody who can create kind of like a study, and one guy who I worked with on the real estate side who did a really good job, he was in Miami, and he would create an annual market study around that area, and it got a ton of press. That would be a great micro conversion. And then, you run your ads to all those emails, and it just helps. It just all kind of snowballs over time,
Yeah, totally agree. And to your point, you just move them along in the funnel, right? You take them from cold to retargeting to customers. You can even buy email lists. There's lots of different things you can do in terms of the targeting stuff. So I love how you set that up.
Yeah, 100%.
How long do you think, just so for the people listening, like how long do you think that would take someone to set those 4 campaigns up?
So I think that's a good question. And I think where my mind goes with that is, what are you going to set up first? Like, which campaign are you going to set up first? And I got to tell you, I love YouTube right now. We get so much business from it. It's really great. I just feel like Facebook's so saturated, and people, they don't think to set up the YouTube ad as much. But okay, so I could set up a YouTube ad. If I jumped off this call, I could set up a YouTube ad for San Diego, for remarketing, for a 90-day window for our website, for somebody who just visited one page that's high intent, like our contact page. And I could overlay it with how old they are. I could overlay it with their location. I could overlay it with their income. I could overlay it with if they recently moved. I can overlay it with all this cool stuff that makes it super intent driven. And for me personally, that would take me like maybe five minutes or something like that. Now, if it's your first time, doing it, it's not going to take you 5 minutes because you have no idea what you're doing. So you'll have to do a little bit of research. But I mean, the page is this big. It's literally just like 10 fields that you fill out and you just hit go. I think the big thing is knowing how to do it, like everything in life. And then it's also the creative, because if you don't really have like a good ad, then it's kind of like a waste. And it's always so surprising to me what ends up performing well. I shot this one ad one time. It was here, and I did in 50 seconds, just a quick off the top elevator pitch about the company, and it's got like the highest conversion rate out of anything that I like overproduced or anything like that. So I guess my main thing would be like with the ad side, like just go from the gut and come out and just tell them what you really feel and have it be authentic, and try that a couple times, a call to action at the end, and try to get real specific with the audiences and scale out. But the ad shouldn't take you too long. I think the first time maybe 20-30 minutes.
Okay. I mean, that's very digestible and very doable. I also fully agree with the point you just made about the YouTube ad. And I've heard this from lots of really successful YouTube marketers, and I think it's an important tip, that just a simple video of you talking face to face with the camera outperforms all of the high production and the big crazy ads that people do, like by a long shot. It's like not even close.
Yeah.
So in terms of like not overthinking it, you could literally pull out your iPhone or your smartphone and have one of your coworkers, your kids, or someone film you, or just put it on a tripod and just do a simple 30 to 60 second ad about yourself, your business, how you work, the benefits, all that kind of stuff. And you can upload it onto YouTube with all of the, targeting stuff that you just laid out. And you could do that all in probably one day.
Yep. Yeah. It's that's what does the best. I mean, we've got, a creative director here, and there's a time and place for stuff like that, I think, and we've done the most overproduced like stuff you could think of. And then, so with YouTube, they have this new thing, and all the sites have this on some level, but YouTube, you can set up different steps. So like, if I want to hit somebody in a sequence, I can. So like what you want to think about is what's your top of funnel, the bottom funnel ad strategy. And it sounds like, kind of like tricky, but it's really not that hard. Like you just log in and then you said, this is what I want my first ad, my second ad, my third, my fourth, my fifth. You can go all the way down to, like 10 or whatever. So somebody's seeing 10 different ads from you in 30 days. And you just think to yourself, like, okay, how would I meet somebody the first time? Like, what do I want to say to them? Well, I probably wouldn't want to come straight out and just say, hey, hire me right now. I'm the best digital marketer in the entire. People think I'm a jerk, right? And so instead, what a lot of times you want to do is give them a couple tips, teach them something the first 3 or 4 times, make it, kind of educational. And then, it's that whole thing of know, like, and trust. And then you start to ask towards the end. But anybody can just fire up their phone and make an ad, and you just judge them and see which one does better. It's totally doable.
Yes, completely agree, and appreciate your insight on that, because I do think there was some real gold right there in terms of creating some YouTube ads and doing a digital refresh for your whole real estate business. So let's jump into one of the things you also mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get to a quick Facebook question here. This is from Farzad. He said, could you repeat the website name? I think you're talking about helpareporterout.com.
Yeah.
And that's just helpareporterout.com.
Yeah. Just Google Help a Reporter Out. And we could go deep on all that PR stuff that's working right now. There's some pretty interesting things, but Help a Reporter Out, super simple, free to start. $100 a month if you want to get all of this stuff. I promise you, if you do that strategy, you'll get 4 press hits a month. It'll be pretty good for you. So
that's killer. That's really great. Okay, cool. So then another one that came from Facebook. This is Red Staffstrom. So shout out to Red. He's asking, what should your follow-up process look like before investing in lead gen? So maybe he's just taking one step back before running the ads. How should he be set up?
So before running ads, like what do you do before that? Well, I mean,
I think it's more specifically like what maybe he's asking about a funnel, like what should be in place so that when he gets leads,
yeah.
they go in, they get followed
So
up.
I actually have a couple good things there. One thing is, and you guys probably already know this, but one of the realtors that I've worked with, he always sends a automatic email anytime the home price changes. I love that because it's like, because since I own the two houses, I always think, oh, maybe I should sell it now. But to your question is, if you have like a micro conversion, so say, I'll give you an example from our site. So say you come into our site and you sign up for an email pop-up, right? We have one area, it's not set up right now, but I have had it set up in the past. And you sign up and then you get, if you go on YouTube, I've got a couple hundred digital marketing training videos. You can subscribe to the SEO course and you get 20 different SEO courses. You learn about SEO through me, right? And so that would just run, and I wouldn't even, I would set it up, people would sign up, they would get it. And then what would happen is somebody would email me and say, John, I've been following your stuff and I love what you do and I'm ready to sign up right now. And it was just so nice because they already felt like they knew me. They had been watching, almost 20, 30 hours worth of, videos, something around there. So my response for you would be, I love the idea of doing an industry study. There's something called Servata, and Servata is a way you can do an industry study for $500 to $2,000, and it's professional industry study, great data.
Cool.
They sign up for that, they get the study, and then you send them an email nurture sequence of educational things, and you can kind of watch all that. And I know maybe it sounds kind of tricky to set up, but MailChimp has an automation thing where it's just, you just put in what you want the first email to be, the second one, the third, and it'll just send it out the day of the week, the time of the day, all that for you. So I would do something like that, maybe over a month, once a week, maybe twice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward and simple. And the nice thing about MailChimp too, for those that aren't familiar, it's a free service. So you guys can get it for free up to, I think, 1,000 people in your database or 500. So definitely check that out. So I want to touch on something that I hear a lot. And I think it's that people are kind of like scared to market right now,
Yeah.
and, or they don't know the right message. So I want to kind of just talk about what you would say to the people that are fearful of marketing right now, or fearful on spending money on ads, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, a lot of people are hurting right now. People are sick. There's no question about that. So you got to keep that in mind, and you can't be super aggressive about it. And every ad has to have a soft touch, right? But I promise you, there's nobody out there who doesn't want you to have the money to, for your family and stuff like that, right? I mean, we're all in business. You got to do business. So anyway, so I looked at it as a little bit of a competitive advantage, right? So personally, in a way. So like a lot of people are pulling back. A lot of people were scared. I found that our media, we do a ton of advertising here, obviously. We found that our media, the cost for it was much cheaper. So I decided, and we got hit by COVID. We've been hit. We dropped 30%. This is my agencies out here. We're 90 people. We dropped 30% is rough. But what happened is 50% of clients were impacted, like on some level, 30% heavily. And what we did is we fired up the marketing and doubled it, right? And we went into all the industries that were doing well, and we doubled our media spend, and we were able to make up almost all the revenue lost as we're helping and working with clients.
Wow.
And being sympathetic in that 30-day, and actually ended up having our biggest month last month. Now we're still down a little bit, but it's not a layoff situation and stuff like that. So the reason I tell that story is,
That's really amazing, by the way.
thanks. Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, it's been stressful for everybody, but thank you. And I'm happy we haven't had to let anybody go. I mean, I care a lot about those people. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
But was mentioning is what I think you guys want to think about is if 15% of users are up on YouTube and it's less expensive there than ever before. I mean, the inventory is massive. The cost is down. It's a huge competitive advantage right now to be out there marketing yourself. And people are really wanting to get back to normal. And I really feel like personally, like, the story's changing over the next 6 months to the slow climb out of it. And the advertisers in 60 days, they're going to be fully back in. So I think if you can get in now and get the earlier people and kind of get ahead of the rest of the market, you'll do well. And that's exactly what we've done. So I think that you can do the same thing. So
Yeah, it's smart, honestly, and you're living proof that it works. Like that's really impressive that you were able to pivot like that and retain all that business just in a different way.
yeah,
But yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons to really not only market right now, but kind of go heavier on the marketing right now. And
yep,
Roland Frazier, who's we both know very well,
yep,
he told me a story of a couple of times over the past 100 years. There's been several recessions, and he gave a bunch of examples of how the industry leader got bumped out because they pulled back on their marketing,
yeah,
and the next competitor came in. And one of the big examples he gave was basically American cars were the gold standard for such a long time, and then there was the recession in the 80s. They pulled back their spend. Toyota kind of went all in, and they've basically been the number one car company ever since. So in terms of
yep,
scooping up market share, now is a great time. Number two, ads are really cheap, right? So like if you can get ads for a lot less, there's also grants through Facebook. They're doing business grants, different stuff like that.
yep.
So good time to be advertising if you can. Just keep it going and go in, grab market share, and use the strategies that John just shared with us.
Yeah, I agree, and I get that not everybody has funds to do it, but I worked harder in the last 60 days than I ever have, and I just think like, pedal to the metal, grind through it. Sometimes you got to step up. Sometimes you got to dig deep and do stuff like that, and all that. You're talking about Roland. We do some of his advertising here, like around the recent Facebook challenge stuff he's been doing,
Okay.
and
Yep.
his Facebook challenge is so amazing. And I think that that's a really good thing for people to maybe consider too, because that could be really inexpensive is doing challenges. It's this idea of it's kind of people are sitting at home, they're looking at things to do. What's like a challenge that you could, challenge somebody to evaluate 20 different properties and find your favorite one, or, kind of walk them through that process. It's interesting to see the stuff that's getting big right now, like online courses, online education, gaming, challenges. There's like this whole new world of things kind of evolving. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's growing bigger every day. I think at this point people are just getting used to being more virtual, and I think that
Yeah.
it's gonna have a lasting impact on how people do business in terms of the virtualness.
I was on planes. Like 4 or 5 times a month, and I have 2 kids, and I hated it. I'm kind of happy to be at home, man, for a little bit. So
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. And all right, cool. So I wanted to just throw around some different marketing ideas and just kind of go back and forth and have a little fun with this. One
cool.
of the things you mentioned earlier, which I really liked, was having a page on your website. I also like the idea of changing your voicemail greeting to include something around the COVID situation, either how you're helping or how you're pivoting. What are your thoughts on that, or how could a real estate person execute that?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good. I mean, I think, just to take it a step further, I don't know how technical you guys want to get, but I think that we have clients who have put the pages up on their website. I think that's step one. I think step two is getting the message out there. And we talked a lot about the advertising side and stuff like that. But what I would say is there's this whole email side too that's just so easy. Like, you can hire somebody off of Upwork and they can get you 1,000 email addresses, and you can email these people your message and do cold prospecting that way. There's a tool called SEMrush that we use, which will allow us to scrape the whole web, and you can email people and keep track of all of it. And another one called Mailshake. But the big thing I think is, yes, get the page on your site. That's one. The next is get people to see it. And I think email is a great way to do that. And also the LinkedIn in-mails too, if you've tried that. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I actually noticed that you're pretty heavy on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Is there any strategies you could share or things you could say around LinkedIn that we might want to know about?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's really, really good for everybody probably here. I would spend some time there. So I probably get, a couple people a day who want to do business with us from LinkedIn. So it pays for itself. And not only that, I just really, really enjoy it. It's such a good platform to be involved in. So text story-based updates do the best. So I did one the other day that was about like one of my biggest failures. And it's a stupid story, but 60,000 people saw it. I mean, you can't pay for that exposure. It's huge,
Yeah.
right? So the big thing is with it is the whole algorithm set up to it favors text over videos, and then it favors things that are engaged with quickly, and then things that are also continue to be engaged with over a couple days. And if you post something else right after that, it makes it so the other thing doesn't show up anymore. So for LinkedIn, what I would recommend is you connect with like 30 or 40 people a day who you think would be target clients. You do a post once every couple days, not every day, not multiple times a day. Nobody will see it. And you just keep building that network and keep things that are short, snappy, entertaining, and then try to keep it as much on the subject that you want to sell as possible. You can go more broad with like a story like I did.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go broad with a story like I did, nobody really was going to buy my failures from me, but at least more people saw it. So, but it's a great place to be.
I mean, it's exposure, and it sounds like a lot of exposure.
Yeah, it's good. Larry Kim's really good too. If you want to follow that guy, he's great on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people doing really well out there. So on that side.
Yeah, that's cool. And I feel like that's definitely undertapped in the real estate space. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that are heavy on LinkedIn. Two things that I picked up from right now is, one, you said text is preferred. So that's good to know on LinkedIn that text posts do better than videos. And then the other one was not posting multiple times a day, which is kind of contrary to a lot of the other platforms, right? So that's a good distinction to know as well.
Yeah. I mean, everybody who's really big on LinkedIn, they're also in engagement groups too. So it's, if you guys in this group wanted to make a LinkedIn group that was like the big block group or something, and then when you post, like say I do a post on, how I help somebody get 1,000 leads a month, people drop it in the group and then everybody engages with it. It makes it just 20 times the reach, right? So it's just, the internet's just full of a lot of spammers out there, and that's one example of it. But, I don't think there's anything really wrong with it or anything like that. But engagement groups really go a long way. And then the other thing that's really important is if somebody comments on your stuff, you have to comment on everything back, and then you have to do an @ reply back to them, because if you do an @ reply with their name, then it makes it so that you show up in their feed too, and you show up on their wall, and it gets even more reach.
Oh, nice.
So a couple tips there. I'd say those are probably the most important things. And there's hashtags now for LinkedIn. They just came out with it a couple months ago, and those are worth using as well. So.
I love it, man. Those are great. Thank you for those kind of LinkedIn real estate strategies.
Yeah, I think people should do it. I mean, I'd never see real estate people there. I think it could be a really good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, just off of this conversation, it's just crazy how wide open LinkedIn still is. And LinkedIn does have, in terms of like demographics, they're they're business professionals. So it's a good crowd for people in terms of, realtors to be able to target. It's a nice pond to fish in.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a couple other ideas that people can do right now. Um, what about like adjusting your offering?
Yeah.
And I guess, there's a couple of ways you could do that, like maybe saying I'll donate $500 to first responders for everyone that transacts, or maybe, I'll donate, let's say 20 hours of time at the local food bank, different stuff like that. What do you think about kind of how people can
Um,
incentivize people right now?
I'm going to put that one back on you in a minute, but just because I think you know real estate better than me. But I will tell you, everybody's changed their offering that I've seen. Everybody. Like, we came out with the small business division, which we never had before. That's been great. We went up and we're making really good money there. We came out with secondary services, creative, web dev, Amazon, launched. We fast forwarded all these things, and it's been really good for us. So I do think you need to change your offering. One thing as an outsider in real estate, I've seen is, the pricing seems to be kind of all over the place lately. So I don't know. What do you think about that one, Oliver? I mean, any thoughts on that? I'll put it back on you.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good. I mean, there's so many different things you could create, like incentives around. You could create like a referral incentive, for
Yeah,
example, like, hey, if you give me a referral right now, I'll do XYZ,
I
or I'll
like
make
that.
a donation, or whatever that could be. You could even do it in that person's name, which I think would be cool. I'll donate to this or that organization that's helping right now, people on the front line, stuff like that. Um, I also like the idea of anyone that transacts, obviously, but then there's also like the vendor community that you work with. I think right now would be a great time to where you can like co-brand yourself with like accountants,
Yeah,
insurance brokers, mortgage brokers, different industry professionals like that, and come up with different ways to co-brand stuff. Like, since they, for example, let's stay with accountants. They just pushed out the tax deadline for everybody. So maybe something around, how to prepare for your taxes during COVID-19,
yeah.
right? Something like that, where you create a little guide, and you're adding value, and kind of pivoting your offer a little bit.
That's good. Yeah, you just brought up a couple ideas. One of the things I was doing, and I've been doing a little bit, is like virtual happy hours. So we'd come up with a topic and an agenda. I'd invite 10 people, and I'd send them all my favorite beer. I drink like a lot of IPAs and stuff like that, like most people.
Nice.
So we'd all
I
drink a
like where you're
beer.
going with this.
Yeah, we'd all drink a beer. We'd jump on Zoom like this and chat. And I honestly had no expectations. I just really like missed people, and like I like networking a little bit. And we got a couple clients out of it. That could be a good thing to do. And then the co-branding that's super smart. One of the ways we've built this company is we'll go to other people who have our exact same clients, and then but we're not competitors. And then we set up referral programs, and we make it so like it's just so great for them that they would never want to say no. Like, a good percentage. We might just pay them a flat fee on a continual basis. And I just think, finding people who have your customers, and building up those mutual pipelines is huge. So that's good stuff. That's gold right there.
Awesome. And I likewise love the idea of the virtual happy hours.
Yeah,
I do think I've attended a few of those, and they can get a little chaotic and stuff.
they
But I
can.
like two things. I like what you said about sending them out a beer, right? And
Yeah,
there's ways to do that where you can send it out even in cold packaging, so it arrives ice cold.
yep,
But maybe get 10 or 20 people together. And I also like the idea of like facilitating maybe some sort of a game where it's like you
yeah,
ask 20 questions, and people can thumbs up or thumbs down or play along, kind of a thing. But what a great way to just get people together, and make it fun, and just, attach your brand to something cool and virtual and different.
yeah. I think you nailed it, because if it's too many people, it's just nut. It's just nobody can get in anything. But well, the ones that have been good that I've been on, like we'll actually play a little music in the background. You know, everybody will send a beer or a coffee or like something that they can enjoy. So you're all enjoying something together. And I think drinks are the best in my opinion, but you know, and then, you know, a clear agenda. You kind of have to be the leader and tell everybody beforehand, like, I'm the host, this is an event, I'm hosting an event, and walk them through it. And then you kind of have to, you got to kind of call on people, because otherwise, like, everybody talking at once. So, yeah.
And that is the nice thing about Zoom, is that you can actually play moderator and you can mute people and unmute people. So if you've got a couple people that are trying to take things over, you can just put them in the back seat.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Another thing is, speaking of, you know, virtual and staying on the virtual topic, virtual open houses. We just did a big call on an amazing virtual open house strategy. So if you guys didn't get to see that one, check it out. It's on the, you can check it out on Founders Club. Go back in the archives. That's with Travis Thom. He broke down basically using Facebook Live and paid ads to do pretty cool virtual open houses. And then there's also virtual staging. So agents can take pictures of houses that aren't staged, and without having to actually get them staged, get them digitally staged, and they look pretty amazing. So that's just another cool marketing strategy to kind of spice things up, especially if you've got a vacant property that you're dealing with. Different options there as well.
I love that idea. Yeah, you know, with Facebook, you know, create an event, you know, go live, run ads to it 30 to 60 days beforehand, promote it with your email list. You know, that's a fantastic idea.
Awesome. Well, let's keep rolling. On the video thing, I noticed that you're really heavy on YouTube and you have some really, you know, heavy hitting videos. So nice work on that. Now is the time for people to be creating content. It's been said 1,000 times. Now is the perfect time to create content. Can't stress that enough. So if you're out there creating content and you have videos that you can get on YouTube, what are some kind of tips and strategies that you have for people just in terms of how to get exposure on YouTube?
Yeah. So what I do is in this office, once a week, I'll shoot a video that I'm kind of interested in, like something that, like, you know, it's relevant, I'm interested in it. It takes me about, you know, I just write something on the board that I really like. And then I do one take and I just talk at a camera that's over here, and I keep them all under 10 minutes. And then I shoot on my phone, and then I push it to Google Photos, and then I drop the link to a video editor. I give the video editor like 10 screenshots. He drops them in, edits it all up, makes it look real nice. It cost me like $50. That's all off of Upwork. It's really inexpensive. And then I take that video and I put it on YouTube. I put it on IGTV. I put it on Facebook. I put it on our Facebook group. I put it on LinkedIn. And so I'm on all these great places. And then also I rip the MP3 out of it, and then I put that on our podcast. So and then I also embed the YouTube video on our blog, and it allows all those channels to keep growing. And then I like to put a little bit of money around advertising the most important ones. And I mean, when you think about it, you know, I've been doing it for a long time. It's been a while now, but it gets in front of maybe 500,000 people, you know, a month with each video, which is really a lot of reach. So the key for YouTube is you got to write on a keyword that's something that people would search for, and you need to kind of keep building up a universe around that keyword, because YouTube's all about related videos. So what's that one main topic, that one main term, and then creating more and more videos around it, and just growing and growing your authority around that cluster. It's also really important you take the time to invest in a really good thumbnail. I know that sounds basic, but it's kind of the main thing for click-through rates. So spend a ton of time on the thumbnail, ton of time on the title, and then you want to add basically 3 layers of tags in. One's going to be your really broad tags, which might be like real estate, stuff like that. your next one is going to be your middle tags, and then your bottom tags, which are more niche. You might want to have 20 to 30 tags in there. And then you always need to make sure you hook up a related video at the end, and that you have the option for people to subscribe to the channel at the end. There's this thing called templates in YouTube. It's like one of the last options that allows you to kind of overlay those things on there. And then I think you want to get on a cadence of creating like 1 or 2 videos a week. And I highly recommend you invest a little bit of money at the beginning into a subscribe video, which is where you just talk about how you're offering free tips, get people to subscribe, because you really want to build up that base. You want to, once you get to like 1,000 subscribers, it kind of starts to snowball a little bit, but you got to work a little bit. For the first 1,000 is a little bit tricky. It's you kind of forcing it until you get there. So those are a few things, but I would just say it's really great, and it's fun, and it makes you an expert in your space, and it makes you kind of stay on your game. So I think, it's a great place to spend your time.
Definitely agree. I love a couple of things you said there, and I think I want to just kind of highlight a couple of the points. Number one, the cadence. I think YouTube really values consistency, and I think they also really like posting at the same time on the same day. So if you say, I'm going to do 1 video a week just to get started, then post that video every Wednesday at 10 a.m. or every, Sunday at 6 p.m. because YouTube likes that consistency. Number 2 was the importance of the thumbnail. I also agree that, the thumbnail is what makes the difference. If you don't get the click, you don't get the view. So at the end of the day, having a really powerful, engaging thumbnail adds a lot of value, and you can get those done. You can do them yourself on Canva. You can hire them out on like Fiverr and stuff like that. So there's lots of different ways to make really cool, amazing thumbnails. Shannon Ray Russell on the Facebook group says, I'm doing it. This is great stuff. So shout out. Thank you. Appreciate it. And then the last thing on the YouTube was the importance of the title. Because again, I think in terms of SEO, I think that's where YouTube really focuses, right? Would you say that that's fair?
Yeah. I think one big mistake I made with YouTube was for a long time, I was just trying to get ranked for keywords in YouTube. And I didn't really realize it was more about the related videos and kind of this whole network thing. But if you want to optimize for it, title, description, keywords in the description, keywords in the tags, keywords in the file name, the SRT file, all of that stuff in one. And then, you want to launch it and then have a launch where it gets some views and comments right away. And then it'll push it to the top and test it on the top keyword. And then if it does well, it'll stay there for a while. And a lot of other people recommend like building links to YouTube videos and like doing external links. That does have some kind of an impact, but I'd say your title's probably the most important out of all of it. So
awesome, man. Love that. Great real estate YouTube tips. Appreciate those. I want to jump into something else just to keep the marketing ideas flowing. One other thing I wrote down was just leveraging market stats. I think that one way that real estate agents can market and keep their name out there in a really non-evasive way is just by leveraging the market stats.
Yeah.
So, because the reality, and thank God for all of us in the real estate business, is that the market is still moving. People are still buying and selling. There's deals closing every day. And just by keeping that message out there and kind of beating that drum, I think it A, shows you as an expert, and B, just gives you something that's, you don't really have to create anything. You're just looking up the stats and then either creating an infographic or turning that into a video or whatever your preferred format is. But what are your thoughts on leveraging market stats like that?
Yeah, I love it. We've seen social media has made a huge resurgence after this COVID thing. I mean, there's more people online than ever before. So create a market stat, turn that into an interactive piece of content like a GIF or just a basic JPEG. And, you can, again, I use Upwork a lot. We have a lot of people who we can turn to there. You can find somebody to do really inexpensive designs, 10, $20, and give them 20 stats and have them just make a bunch of images for you. And that can be really powerful for you, be great for your stories for Facebook and
Oh, I didn't
Instagram.
even
And
think about that. It's
YouTube
perfect.
has stories now.
Yep.
I don't know. You could even try to do something on TikTok with that if you wanted. I don't know how crazy you guys want to get, but a lot of people are going to TikTok now too.
Yeah, no, definitely. So cool. Yeah. So that's just another idea for you. Go out there, leverage the market stats. Most associations, they publish them for free. So it's easy information to get. And like John said, you can just get it to someone to compile all that information, kind of make it a little sexier, a little cooler, and kind of match your brand. And then you can leverage those across all the social channels. Love that. Another thing is building evergreen assets. I think right now might be a perfect time to create that evergreen webinar. And so for the people that don't really understand what that means, basically it's a webinar that you can run over and over again, that you can build a marketing system around, so that basically you can just drive cold traffic and that those prospects run through the system until they hit the webinar. It's all automated, it's evergreen, it runs 24/7. But if you did like a how to buy a house course or a how to sell a house for top dollar course, and then put that on a webinar, how do you feel about something like that? Or what would you say about that?
I like it. We do a lot of webinars here. I do at least one a quarter. I think that's a great idea. You're talking about evergreen, and I think you want to think about, I'm in San Diego, you're in San Diego. Like what's maybe like the main thing that people are looking for in San Diego? Well, if I was an agent in La Jolla, I might want to create an evergreen piece of content on my website about La Jolla home prices, and just keep updating it every 30 days or every 2 weeks, just updating it with data. I love the webinar idea, but the web page idea, the reason I also like that is because when you update things more and more, it makes it so it'll end up ranking #1 for a bunch of different terms. And I think a lot about the SEO side here because we do a lot of SEO. But, we have this page on our site called the Google Update History Timeline. So anytime you Google updates, like it's just right there. So I think any market that you're in, and then also, hey, if you're updating that page about La Jolla home prices, that could be a great thing to do that webinar on as well. And, what people need to look for, kind of integrating the two. So yeah, the Ever webinar is great. You can have that pop up on your site. People can come in, they think it's starting soon and they want to attend. It's a great idea. Yeah.
All right. Love it. So you'll co-sign that.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple more I want to run through. I also want to talk about your book, The Forecaster Method. I want to give it a plug because I think it's a great book. I think that John is one of the most reputable, legit, and actual practitioners out there, because there's a lot of people in the digital marketing space that all they do is just talk about digital marketing, and they don't actually have an agency that helps businesses grow using social media and digital marketing. So just a quick plug for you. Why don't you give a brief kind of synopsis of the Forecaster Method and where people can find that?
You got it. Yeah, I appreciate all those nice things you said. Yeah, I really like it. I like getting my hands dirty. I like, building a website from scratch or building an ad campaign and all that. And I like working with huge companies and small ones. One of our clients is Tony Robbins, who I'm super proud to be working with for 5 years now. And working with him over the last 5 years and his team, a couple guys over there, really, really smart guys and girls, and just an amazing team. I'm on a call with them once a week. The reason I bring them up, they wrote the foreword to the book. But basically what we did working together is we created what I believe is the perfect cost per acquisition framework for scaling digital marketing campaigns. So what that means is we try to come out with 5 different traffic sources, right? So maybe YouTube, Facebook, Google, display, could be programmatic, you name it. And we look at how much it costs you to get a lead from each one. And then also, how do you drill down? Is it the creative? Is it the audience? What layer is it in the audience? Is it the landing page? And then what's the audience size, the click-through rate, the conversion rate? the cost per acquisition for each one. And we try to never have more than 30% in one bucket. And me being an MBA in finance, I love finance. We like to have a diversified portfolio of traffic that's driving to your website. So the book is about how to set up the perfect digital marketing strategy when you're getting started, and then when you're a $1 billion company. And I've seen it all. And it also has a study in there about different sizes of companies and the types of marketing that they do at different sizes. And it's really, really interesting. One of the things we found is when they get started, usually the first thing that people invest in is social media. Then they put their money into SEO, which I think is a mistake. Then they end up going into paid media and then email. And then once they become a really, really big company, it starts to even out a little bit more. So yeah, the book is all about just digital marketing framework from small to big, and then how you kind of find out what's wrong if your program's not working. And a lot of it is off of how we've kind of scaled here. So we've always scaled marketing as 10% of revenue, no matter what size we are. So if we're a $1 million company or 10 or whatever, we keep that same percentage and we keep reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. And then that fuels growth. So it's all these different kind of concepts together into how to have like a marketing driven company, and then where to put that money to find out if it's working correctly. And the main reason I wrote the book is because I kind of felt like a recession was coming, and I kind of felt like a lot of people were wasting a lot of money on digital marketing. And it was kind of hard for me to watch them putting money in the wrong place. And I had a lot of people asking me, if I'm going to take all my money from offline and bring it online, how do I do that? So that's the whole spiel there. So
yeah, it's great, man. It sounds like a master class of digital marketing.
Yeah, I worked really hard on it. And thanks for asking about it. It's on Amazon. It's only $10 and it took me like a year. So hopefully it's worth the $10. I think it will.
Yeah. So go check that out and let us know what you think of that.
Yeah.
I know that also that one of the big things that you talk about a lot is optimizing everything for search. I know that Google also just came out with like a big new update. So can you just kind of speak to that, or what the high points of what we would need to know about that?
Yeah. So I got my start in SEO, and now I kind of do all I was a publisher, then I did SEO, and then paid, and then PR. So I ended up doing everything at one point, but on the SEO side, I've been real heavy on it. So what happened in November of 2019, this thing came out called the Google BERT update, and it was huge. It was one of the biggest updates to ever hit search. And what it did is it started looking at things like intent instead of keywords. So if you did a search for something like facts about real estate, for example, wouldn't just return articles that had that in there. It would only return a certain type of content, like a guide or a news article or a list. So it's different types of content that now match to intent. So that has been a huge shift in SEO. So now before you optimize for anything, you have to think about what's that intent, what's the type of content Google wants to serve. Some cases, it's not even a piece of text. Sometimes it's a video or an image, or it's a Google feature. Google has these new features like Google My Business, which everybody should be on in this group. And sometimes they only return things like that. So that's been a big shift. And then what happened is last week, a huge Google update came out again, and we saw some sites drop as much as 50% in traffic. And this is a huge deal for some businesses. Like,
yeah,
so, because one of them, which I won't go into, but I saw somebody go down, about 2 million visitors a month or so, which is, their business depends on it. So what happened is, it's been a week or two now, and what we saw is that it was mostly pages that don't get refreshed a lot. So old web pages that hadn't been updated for a long time dropped. And then pages that had really thin content. So like one site that got hit really bad, it was all user generated content. I think the main takeaway I have for everybody is, refresh your pages at least once a year, keep them up to date, facts, figures, make sure you're optimizing for intent. And, all this superfluary stuff about like social media, keep all that engine going, the blogging, and you should be fine with updates. But it was a big one. So.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds like a big one.
It was.
And what would you say about, You said it was thin on content, and you said
Yeah.
older pages that haven't been updated were hurting the site. So does that mean that like if that having less pages is better and keeping them more updated? Because I remember in the old days, it was just crank out as many pages as you can, try
Yeah.
to stuff them with as many keywords as you can, and you would rank. But now it sounds like that's kind of totally opposite.
That is true. Yeah. So that's exactly right. So like back when I was a director at this big SEO company, we would do this was over 7 years ago. We would do a lot of that. So we would make for like a site like Zillow, for example, we would make the top level page, the state page, the city page, and then sometimes a zip code page, and then a property page. And then sometimes what we would do is write something called a content matrix, which would basically spin content and then put in things like the address or, the home value or the number of bedrooms and stuff like that. And all that would rank. So this new update is making it so stuff like that really doesn't work anymore. So I would say for people who are in this group who want to rank well, if I had a website around La Jolla real estate, I would want to have not that many pages, and every page or you can have more pages, but every page needs to be, 1,500 words of content, fully optimized, no copied text from around the web, images that are unique. That's what Google wants to see. And then they also want to see really fast page speed. I really didn't care about page speed for a long time, but now Google cares so much about page speed, and they care about mobile usability. Those are two important things. And if your site's on WordPress, I really recommend WP Rocket is really great for making your site super fast. Just a tip on that, but yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely nerding out here a little bit, and I personally I love it. I have one more just quick question around the SEO stuff. How big of a deal is domain name, like a .com versus a .real estate or .net or .whatever?
Yeah, it's a good question. It doesn't really matter anymore, but from the search engine's perspective, the only thing that they look for domains is the history of the domain. So before you use any domain, just drop it into SEMrush real quick, SEMrush.com, and just make sure there's not a bunch of bad links pointing at it, and it didn't used to rank for any weird stuff like pills or something weird. That's pretty important. If it's a brand new domain, some of the new stuff's good. I will say though, talking to my wife, she really only likes, she's a very, she's a specific consumer in the way that she looks at stuff. She makes sure every website's on HTTPS, so it's secure before she uses it. And she really only uses like .com. So I think it's more important from a consumer perspective. And like also for our international clients who are in like the UK and stuff, they'll only use your UK domains. Same with our Canadian clients, only Canadian domains. Now we're just talking US. I would try to get a .com, a .org, or a .co personally, and I try to use mostly .coms. Now I do think you could do the .real estate too, and that would probably be okay. But it's a consumer thing. So.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good point, because I think that obviously there's winning with Google, but then there's also winning with the people that search on Google and actually are going to click those links. So having the site secure, I think that's an easy one. So if that makes a big difference, that's something people should definitely be doing. You also mentioned the page load speed. What would you say is kind of like the target speed
Yeah,
for the SEO for Google?
there's the Google page speed test. So if you just Google page speed test, there's a test that you can take for your site. And also Google Analytics has a report on this, and so does Google Search Console. But and there's also a tool. It's pretty cool. It's from Think with Google. If you just Google Think with Google page speed evaluation tool, something like that, it'll pop up. But it tells you how much money you're losing by how slow your website is. So for every kind of second or two, you lose usually like 5 or 10% of your leads because people just leave.
Wow.
So, I try to have, at least a C on mobile and an A on desktop. if possible. So a 70 out of 100 on mobile, 90 out of 100 on desktop. And, it's a balancing act though, because I've had our website at 100 out of 100 on both before, but I couldn't deploy third-party things like certain scripts and stuff like that. So try to get 60 out of 100 on mobile, and you'll be fine. Even if you're over like 40, you'll probably be okay. You won't be penalized. Anything lower than that, you could be. And it's a mobile first now. So
mobile first.
Yeah,
good distinction.
That's the main thing to think about.
Man, those are some awesome tools around, SEO and optimizing your real estate site. I think you dropped some really great tools there at the end that I think we should definitely be checking out. I'll definitely be checking out, especially I like Think with Google. I think that is going to be a cool tool that I'll definitely run our stuff through and just kind of see how it looks.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of wrap up with what's just kind of like your general advice around marketing right now. What do you think is just what the focus should be and how people should be doing it to win?
So my advice right now is all the states are starting to open up, and they're starting to open up in different phases. So my general advice is to match your marketing to the tone of the state level regulations 100%. So if they say you can only do this, then match your customer messaging to that as well. So if they're going to allow people to be in houses, then you can run ads and you can send emails around that. And you can talk about how you practice social distancing and stuff like that. And then once that goes away, you can pull back on it and things like that. But the main thing is don't pull back on marketing, but put yourself in the mind of the consumer and try to set up the correct messaging at the right time as you scale out, and then set up cost per acquisition frameworks across all these different channels. And I think it's really good for people to learn how to run the ads themselves when you're smaller. And then, once you get bigger, hand it off to somebody. The other thing I'd say, there's a lot of talent out there. So if right now, so there's a lot of people that can help you as well. But yeah, I think get ready for your comeback, right? I think we're going to have a comeback, and I personally don't really believe that this is the new normal. I think we're going to get back to how it was, but maybe that's just me being optimistic. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I'm a fellow optimist as well, so I'm going to agree with you on that, and hopefully that's the way it plays out.
Yep.
Well, John, I got to say, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I think you've given a ton of valuable insight just around different strategies we can use for marketing during coronavirus and marketing during these crazy times. I know you're also as excited as I am that the beach is opened and we can get back in the water. So we'll have to get together for a surf one of these days.
Love that.
And just really appreciate you, man. Look forward to seeing you in person soon, and can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was really fun just to chat about what I'm passionate about. It's nice to get in front of everybody in the group, and stay safe, everybody. Thanks so much, Oliver.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. We'll get back to them. If you like the show and you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.